Today on the Basketball Manitoba podcast, we have Don Thomson. Don has been a constant figure in the Manitoba basketball community for 25 years. Brandon, born and raised, he has dedicated his time and knowledge to advancing the sport in Brandon and the surrounding areas. Don played at the University of Brandon and afterwards went on to coach at Neelin High School. In his over 25 years as a coach, he was recognized as Coach of the Year numerous times, won provincial championships, coached Manitoba's provincial teams, and won a bronze medal at the 2013 Canada Games. Don created the Mini-Spartans basketball camp to introduce and inspire the community to participate in the game. He also created and operates the annual Brandon Sun Spartan Invitational Tournament, one of the province's longest running and largest basketball tournaments. And now, here's my conversation with Don Thomson. All right, so we are live today on the Basketball Manitoba podcast. We have Don Thomson. Don, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, great being here, Darcy. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, so we were chatting offline a little bit about just about provincial team. You brought it up, and you coached me way back in 2001, I think, with Greg Bouchard, and that was my first time playing obviously provincial team at any level, and we went to the Canada Games, and it was my first experience with basketball at that level. Yeah. And the one thing that I remember is being yelled at a lot. One thing specifically is
that was Bouch, not me.
It was Bouch. It was, you're right. It was Bouch. And the thing I remember was, help side defense. And he's like, look, you got to get down in the stance. And so once I finally figured out to get into the right position after he yelled at me enough, then he was like, okay, you got to get into a stance here. Like, come on, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but you're not gonna be able to do anything. And for whatever reason, I just remember that. Like, I don't remember much else. But that was my first memory. Oh, sorry. And there's one other thing, the drives out to Brandon, because you made the squad drive out. I think it was like 2 or 3 times a week to practice out there. So that's my first kind of memory of you when I think, hey, Don Thomson, that's my first memory of you. But I'd love to know what your first memory of basketball is.
Wow, that's early. I mean, we go back to probably grade 6, to be honest. Lived across from courts in my mom and dad's house, and one of those ones, phys ed person at the time at Green Acres early years school or elementary school back in the day, just introduced basketball, and it was kind of one of those things. And I got a little bit of a bug that I got a ball and walked across the street and we shoot hoops for an hour and come back, and mom would yell at me across the street, it's time to eat, and away I go. And that's really it. It was just one of those games that I found you could never master. It's just, I need to do this, or I can do this. And I guess with my personality, it was just something that I could grow with. And you know what, to be honest, went to school with a great bunch of kids that loved the game as well. So once you start getting that happening, we used to go from court to court and just play and never coached. That was the best part. Just go get on your bikes and go ride somewhere and play. And, which is so different than this day and age. Oh, yeah. I say this to there, and I coach a lot, but kids are overcoached now. Yes. I mean, they gotta learn to play. You got to learn that, you know what, sometimes that guy you're playing with never passes you the ball. Mm-hmm. See, you better earn it some other way. And I think that's the lessons you learned in those times. I mean, if we're talking ice hockey, it would be playing on the ponds, right? Mm-hmm. It'd be the same kind of thing. So that's early it. And then junior high I had an awesome junior high coach that just got me hooked onto the game, and fortunate to go to high school at Crocus Plains with Dwight Kearns, who was a high school coach, but also was a next level coach. And not just technically, he taught you how to work hard. And we had morning practices and evening practices and just spent extra time with you. And then all the way to the university where we ran into Jerry. And, I found, wow, I mean, this is a basketball library on 2 legs. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so you mentioned some of your mentors. So I wonder if you can kind of maybe discuss some of those lessons that I think you almost went through 3 phases of your playing career, and you mentioned 3 different people. Yeah. So maybe what are some of those lessons that were taught to you that maybe you still live by today, or that you now even try to pass on to some of the people that you've coached over the years?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, Larry Rodenbush in junior high was, you get there in grade 7 and you're just kind of not sure what's going on. And he taught you that we practice every day. You come Monday to Friday, you practice, and you come in, you work hard, and he kind of got me hooked into the game. And, we played a competitive schedule in junior high, but it was just in Brandon. And then I was fortunate in grade 10 up at Crocus Plains. I made the varsity team with Dwight Kearns, and we made the 4A now, semifinals, lost to a real good Richmond team in like the final play of the game. And I'm in grade 10 on the floor in that final play, chasing, of all people, Lauren Verstrate. Nobody would know who Lauren is. Played at U of M, and chasing him around the gym trying to foul him, and I could not catch him. It was like you're running in mud. But then anybody saw me run, I look like I run in mud most of the time. So, and that just hooked with me. So, grade 11 and 12 had Dwight working with me, and provincial team at the time wasn't really an option. Provincial team back then was a 21 and under team. So the only real chance you had to make it was my grade 12 year was a Canada Games team, and you're going against second, third year university kids. That was a good opportunity, but just never happened. So you're developing all that on your own, right? And then, then moved into, fortunate to be recruited by a few schools. I mean, U of M, U of W, Martin Riley at U of M was a coach, and Bruce Enns at U of W, and eventually decided to stay home. And in large reason there was probably, I had some friends from Crocus and that I played lots of basketball with, and the comfort level was there. And so I had a great experience for 5 years at Brand University and learned a ton, and take a lot of those different coaches' aspects and what they brought to the game to how you coach kids now. Dwight was a phenomenal motivator, and work hard, and you defend first, and defending is how you score. And whereas at the university level, Jerry, it became such a tactical game. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that can ever beat Jerry in a chess match of the game of basketball. He could make adjustments on the fly and see things that, to be honest, I probably didn't realize till I was 7 years out of university. That's why we used to do that, and it's just kind of like, So those great role models, and each of them guided me in different directions. Like one in the work ethic, and with Jerry tactically, and Larry just getting me into it. So those people were big in my life for sure.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Jerry, and like I've had some experience with Jerry. He never coached me, but I've had plenty of interactions, and I've obviously, when you're someone who's had that much success and you've been at a university that long with that much success, a lot of people are talking about you, right? They have stories about you and stuff like that. The one thing that people always say about Jerry is that, I do hear, of course, he's a great coach, but the one thing that I've always heard was that he was able to manage personalities, or he had a certain like psychological approach or something. And he actually came out and coached a camp, was it once, for me? And when he talks, like there's something different about him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If you do, can you maybe just, talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, he has a way of just enveloping people.
Yes. That's a great way to say it.
He can get people that maybe not even interested in the game of basketball. And I'll tell you what, after 45 minutes with Jerry, they would love the game.
Yes.
And he just has such a good personality, and he cares, and understands that not everybody has the same needs. So, nobody was ever treated equally on any team we ever played with him, but everybody is treated really fairly.
Yes.
Hey, Don Thompson's here, but John Carson, just a little better, just a touch better. And,
sure.
We've got, and the one thing, once we're all done, those teams that I had the luck to play with there were so close. We'd go to bat with anybody, and so many battles and so many great times off the court, probably better times off the court than on the court. And that really is, like I said, my biggest memory of that. And I think a lot of that is just, that was Jerry. He was able to take some people from all different walks of life and kind of get them all together And just by talking and conversing, and hey, we had our run-ins. There was times that sometimes it never worked, but I always said in every family there's going to be squabbles.
Absolutely.
And he was just a tremendous leader in mashing all that together. And I always said, I mean, if you watched what happened to us in December and January, it was chaotic. and people around the country go, "Oh, Brad, it's done." And you know what? Come mid-February, 4 games left in league, things start clicking. Come playoff time, still click, and then he gets it going for nationals. And you just kind of go, yeah, it all points at him. I mean, there's nowhere else it points at. We had great kids and people, but I mean, hey, at the end of the day, it takes somebody to lead all that, and he was the guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I'm hoping that we can definitely get Jerry on the podcast. I think he would have plenty of stories to tell. So,
and you know what? He loves it so much. I mean, I was coaching JV boys basketball here March of 2020 when we go into lockdown and COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, Jerry came back from Arizona in January, came out to watch one of our JV games, stops me after the game, and I go, "Coach, if you're really bored, come out tomorrow at 4. Guess who's in the gym?" And he coached with us. He coached with us all the way till, well, he was at provincials with us that day we got shut down.
Wow.
And with, I mean, you're talking grade 9 and 10s. And they, just as you said, when he spoke, it was like, whoa, what's going on? And they had no idea the legend of Jerry, other than he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. And
it didn't take any selling by me.
You just had to, it's a special skill. It's a special skill. And definitely have experienced that. But okay, so anyways, enough about Jerry. Like I said, I hope we get him on the podcast soon.
Oh, you need to. Yeah.
I'll just sit back and let him tell stories, and then I'm sure we'll all be just as intrigued as if he was coaching us. So
that could be the old separate podcast, just Jerry stories.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They tell a story, Jerry. We can just cut little clips. It'll be a 20-minute story from Jerry. Well, you know what's funny, Don, is so I'm doing the research for this, and I'm thinking back, like, okay, obviously we've interacted a ton. Started off with provincial team, and I did some stuff with tournaments you ran out there and everything. But I was having this thought about coaches, and when I was young, and not realizing that the vast majority, or not the vast majority, but a lot of the coaches that coached me and coached in high school played university basketball. And obviously doing research, looking you up, I'm like, yeah, well, he played university basketball. But most people and kids have no idea. Like, you can play, like you played, and
exactly.
like Scott Martin, for example, see him all the time. Like, he played. I didn't know that. And then I saw him playing senior men's one day. I was like, and he was good. And I was like, oh, he played.
Yeah.
And and so it's always this weird thing where this is just kind of a side, but it's such an interesting thing to when you're young, you don't know anything. Like, you really. You don't know anything. And now growing up, I'm like, yeah, if he probably played. You just kind of have a sense of things as you get older. But, I kind of bring that all up because you've now been coaching for over 30 years, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little about the story about, how and why you even got into coaching in the first place?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is, I mean, I was third year university. So I'm still in the middle of playing basketball, 15 hours a week. And my high school coach, Dwight Kearns, asked me to come back and help coach at Crocus, and loved it. And, from there on, just kind of continued to do it. I was coaching high school basketball with him in my 4th and 5th year. And that just really got me hooked into it. I've always been a big believer, and I think it goes back to the roots of my mom and dad, who really believe that, if somebody's to give, you need to ensure you're giving back. And I've had so many people that gave me opportunity, and that giving opportunity, I've been given back to it. I mean, it's just you got to pay it back, and that's how I look at it. And it becomes it's not that I got to coach. I get to coach. It's the greatest opportunity that you have to influence young kids. And probably the toughest thing, I was talking to Chad Jacobson this summer, and I said the toughest thing with me in coaching is probably those kids that I didn't connect really closely to.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that I keep thinking, how could I have made their experience better? And, I mean, that's one of those ones you can't get to everybody. And so that's kind of where it's at, but it's really just paying it forward and enjoying what I do. It's just, I get to be a kid. I mean, you coach grade 9, 10, and, they do stupid things. And, well, guess what? There's days where I do stupid things. It's just fun. Yeah.
It keeps you connected a little bit. It keeps you, I think the coaching for me was always like a lot of the exact same things you talked about, but there's a certain energy that you receive from the kids that if you're not around them, you don't get that, whatever that feeling is. I mean, you kind of, I mean, obviously as a coach, you're part of the team, but you're also living vicariously through them. You're experiencing the wins and the losses and the gains and the development alongside them. And you're a big part of that. And those things, I completely know what you're saying. But there's a certain, if you have the mentality that you have, and then I also share, you get that feeling. There's a feeling that comes with it. Not just about winning. It's nothing to do with that. It's about the process. It's about, like you had mentioned, with just seeing kids develop and it's an honor and it's a privilege to coach.
It is, and, I mean, I've been fortunate. I mean, I've been teaching now for 35 years and I think coaching probably 38. Right. And at the end of the day, coaching is just teaching. And that's the nice part. Like people go, oh, you're still coaching. I go, why wouldn't you? Like, I mean, I love teaching the game and I giggle here at Neelin now. I mean, I'd rather go practice 6-7 days a week than go play a game. You know what I mean? Kids would hate it. But at the same time, I have more fun with the grade 9s and 10s, just running freshman practices and JV practices and watching us get better and throwing new things in. And, I mean, the game's changed so much. You can imagine how much has changed. I mean, gone are the old double posts and we're screening away. And now we got 5 out and we're running dribble handoffs and we're doing all the, and you kind of go, oh, like five spread. Like there would be people back early in my coaching career that'd be having heart attacks watching 5 people, a 6'6" kid out in the perimeter, handling the ball and ball cut and running motion. What are you doing? It's all part of it, and at the end of the day, if those kids can get any experience out of playing, and that leads to them coaching their kids in club or at an earlier school or in the community, learn playing in senior men's. If they keep playing in the beer league or they become a ref, then you've won. That's really it. It's not getting to another level. Like you said, wins or losses. I mean, I still say I coached at BU for 8 years. I probably still have a losing record. I'm good. Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the changes, and it's funny because my next question was actually along those lines of the game has changed over the years. I mean, if you go back to when, like you had mentioned, when you were playing the game, it's like, hey, we got, the idea of at least at the highest levels, you could get 2 massive guys and put them on the court at the same time. That was to your advantage because of the way the game was played.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like, again, whether it's, spread pick and rolls, it's like you space out as much as you can. We need to attack the basket. You might have one big guy out there, but he better be able to move a little bit. The game's changed so much. So what are some things that stand out? You had mentioned the spread and all that. What are some things that stand out now? Just focusing on the court specifically. Now it can be anything from rule changes or anything, but some things that right away you're like, man, this has really changed. And then kind of like, when it was changing, how did you adapt to it? Because I remember there, like you had mentioned, some of these coaches they refused to kind of change, even so much. So I'll actually bring up Scott Martin again. When they won with Sisler, he was playing essentially a lineup that was small ball, but he'd still had guys on the block. And I remember Jonar, was a post, but realistically nowadays, he'd never do that. So it's like kind of like, things are kind of changing. So maybe, I don't know if you can kind of just talk about some of those tactical things, rules, whatever how did you kind of adapt to it? And what are some things that you noticed?
Yeah, I think, I mean, early on in my playing career, I played 5 years of university basketball without a 3-point line.
Oh, yes. When did that come in, by the way?
You know what? We tested it in the Brandon High School League. probably in the early 90s, we tested it. So the three high schools decided to put their minds together, and each of them drew these lines on the floor, and they tried it before the province tried it. And kind of liked it. And the next year, the province, so I would think around early 90s, something like that.
But this is in high school, though, correct?
In high school, right?
But in college, it wasn't until a little later?
It'd be around the same time. Everything kind of steamrolled with it. I think that line has changed, changed the game. I mean, obviously, the importance of shooting now. You know what? I mean, that kids have to be able to shoot the basketball. It's I worked with Dave Love. I mean, he's an NBA shooting coach who does that. His things in Winnipeg. He's done them out here. I've had him out here. But he really knocked it home once. He said, you know what? There's a DNA in shooting. I mean, and not everybody has the same amount of that DNA in them. True. You can teach it, but some it's so natural to, right? And so I think that was part of it. So as the 90s kind of came around, the game started getting faster. And I think the other big one is probably around 07, 08 is when Basketball Canada moved across and got all the PSOs to buy in and change the game to FIBA. Yeah. And, I was a big supporter of us going to FIBA. And in high school, we're going to go from a 30-second clock and into a 24 and an 8-second backcourt. And, we'll be able to teach the game fast that way to kids. And then I go, whoops. I mean, it's what we missed out was there we were trying to get the kids that are 17, 18 years old, trying to get them to play faster than they could think. And yet at the same time with the younger kids, we're still playing plodding ball with them. Yeah. So now what you're seeing now, we've finally seen that the kids are playing faster and quicker at a younger age. And so they've been immersed in ball handling and everybody's shooting it. So I think it just took a while to catch up. But those first couple of years of high school at 24 and 8, it was like, I can remember running what we do offensively at the Piper Classic against Jeff Leping and playing St. Paul's in a first round game. And we had, right after Christmas, I think 11 shot clock violations because we got to get it to the second side. Well, by the time we got it there, no, we're done. Okay. So guys, somebody's got to shoot the ball, right? We're so focused on what we're doing. And so, I mean, those were big changes to the game. I think that have really helped the game. It definitely has. If anything, I would say rural Manitoba, we struggle out here just at the speed of the game because our kids aren't immersed in it like they are in the city. And I think if you notice, I mean, our provincial teams, I mean, it's the rural kid making a provincial team now has been few and far between, even though they're getting good coaching out here, but they don't get immersed to it as daily as they go to the Y and they go to this clinic and they got this club. And those are things that we just got to keep working hard in our province to fix. But the game is in a good place in our province right now, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned the change in shot clock. Tell us a personal story when it was 2001 semifinals of the provincials, and we're playing Kelvin, and this is when I'm at Glenlawn, and there wasn't a shot clock. Like there was no shot clock, and they were burning the clock on us. We lost by 3, but they were just burning the clock, and we're just like, this is crazy. And now it's, that would never, it can't happen anymore. And so that alone, and shout out to Kornberger, Brian, who I will be, honored to have on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
One of his, so obviously being at Glenlawn, we'd go support the girls team, and Brian obviously has won, tons of championships before the shot clock era, and then also in the shot clock era. So respect to him, but he used to run outs. He'd call it outs all the time. And outs was just burn the clock. And you'd get up like, I don't know, 10. And then for the end of the quarter, he just like run outs burn the whole, 3 minutes of a quarter. And even us, because this was, 2000 and shot clocks were showing up everywhere. And we were like, come on, like, what are you doing? But that was just the way the game was played because there was no shot clock.
Nope.
So we're trying to win the game here. So let's win the game. And like you said, it's just changed so much.
I went recruiting it with Brandon University, and I went to the BC provincial girls 4A championships, right? And I watched the final on a Saturday night. It went 90-87 in a shootout with these two phenomenal. One went and played Div 1. The other played at the University of Victoria, was a first team All-Canadian, unbelievable players. And after that Saturday, I flew home Sunday. I went out the next weekend and watched the Glen Lawn girls in the 4A final. And a girl that ended up playing for me, Andrea Brown, she sat at half court and dribbled the ball for 5 minutes, and Glen Lawn won 38-37. And you're kind of going, what did I just watch? Like, I could get up and go for popcorn. And to be honest, I mean, Brian is as adaptable as anyone. But at the time, that's how the game was coached, right? And it took longer for our province to catch up. And like, that's the best part. And you're seeing it now provincially too. Our provincial teams are carrying themselves nationally because we're able to play that way.
Exactly. Yeah. The games, it's changed. And some of those rule changes, like you said, the adoption of FIBA has been huge. So those are some of the on-court stuff. Now, some of the stuff I love to talk about is the off-court changes. So like something as simple as the way that you would train, being in university compared to how things are now, or even in high school. Like, I mean, nowadays the kids are getting off-court training, and it's high quality off-court training stuff that, again, I'm younger than you, but still, now this is years ago for me. I was talking over 20 years. I didn't have that stuff.
No.
And so it's changed so much off the court, but even things of like, what you put in your body, or I've heard stories from people, saying that they're taking salt tablets. Now this is way back when, or they're eating steak as pregame meals. It's just crazy how things have changed. So I'm just curious, what are some of the things, and even in between coaches, or the way that, things, tournaments, so everything has just kind of changed, obviously. And that's the way life works. But what are some things that you've experienced, or the things that stand out in your mind when I kind of cue you with some of that stuff that has changed off the court throughout the years?
I mean, the training part, I mean, and to be honest, I get concerned over the training part, especially when we have kids in grades 6, 7, 8, going to get physically trained. To me, and I'm sure you as a player, you grew up playing multi-sport.
Yes.
You play different sports. So in other words, you gained all that they get in their sport training, their functional sport training, you got through playing different games.
Correct.
And I'm a big believer that sometimes we can overtrain kids in one sport to the point that they get tired of it. And that I worry about. I encourage our kids, go play volleyball, go play basketball, spring play soccer, do multi things. I mean, if not, I looked at my son Jacob when he was here at Neelin. In his grade 9 year here at Neelin, he played on 9 different teams. Wow. And he also played AAA midget hockey that year. Or no, sorry, he played AAA bantam hockey that year, and was drafted in the WHL. And he was doing all of that through his high school career. At the same time, you have to manage it. And there's times where you just go, no, the tanks, you're done. You're not practicing today. You need to just focus on this. And then they can eventually get there. But the training is one, it's awesome. The technology that's involved in training now, literally. I mean, I used to be a guy that used to run hills out at our farm with a garbage bag around me trying to sweat some pounds off. And now you look at it, it's crazy. I mean, we used to have hills out on our farm, and I would run the hills with my work boots on and run the hills, because that was a great workout. And
was this you channeling your inner Rocky Balboa, like, when he's fighting Drago and he's running through the hills with boots on?
Yeah. Well, that's pretty well my basketball career was like fighting Drago. That was pretty well it. But yeah, I mean, all I could ever do was try to show up to camp in September, be in better shape than anyone else, because eventually they would get in shape and I'd be in trouble. So yeah. But no, so I mean, training is a big issue. I think, I mean, the access to knowledge now is second to none. Like literally, and another fear that I have is we have lots of coaches out there, but they're YouTube coaches.
Yes.
Yes. And that's, I can get this drill, or I watch this for an hour and I can do all of this, but do you know why you're doing it? And I still say in a lot of the clinics and things I do, some of the best drills and things that I've done and that to teach kids, are things that literally came right off the side of your hand. We're stealing always in this game. So there's never a drill that you don't take from somebody, but are you willing to take that and adapt it to make it work for you? Or are you just going to do it? Mike McKay, who's worked with Basketball Canada, used to say, I mean, is it the chef or is it the recipe? And really, I mean, a recipe is a recipe. Anybody can cook it.
Yep.
But it takes a real chef to be able to kind of just put that little extra to make it that much better, so it tastes better, right? And I think we need to do more of that as coaches. That you know what, you just have to look at who you have and how are you going to adapt that and just tweak it a little bit just to make it work. So I think that the access to knowledge now is unbelievable. I mean, you can go on YouTube and find 19 ways to go over a screen roll. Right?
Yes.
And back in the day, you were either a person that went under it because Bob Knight said you had to go under every screen, or you jump switched, and that was it. Well, now there's hedging, and you watch the stuff that goes on at the college level, and you've got a 7-footer hedging at 35 feet and sprinting back, and you're going to go, seriously, like we're doing all this, and but that's what's changed in the game. It's exciting, but it's just being able to use that. And I think just the other thing, even from an officiating standpoint, I give our officials full credit for being able to do what they do now, because the game has picked up so quickly, and they still, I mean, I just see young officials coming through right now that are really, really solid in what they do. And they understand it isn't the old plotter game where you had to kind of set a tone early because it could be a war in the key. You would have played in some of those days where don't bring it in the key. I mean, because you could get a touch foul at 30 feet, but in the key, punches are thrown, right? I mean, it's a full brawl in there. And so then you kind of went, well, now these young officials understand the tempo of the game and how to keep it going without just getting it bogged down. So it's an exciting time for sure.
I just want to point out that you were giving officials credit. So that's why I just want to highlight that if there's any officials listening right now that if Don's ever yelled at you or he's yelling at you, away from the court, he's giving you an applaud and
I apologize he appreciates for any official that ever had me. So there you go.
This is your chance. We can cut this, clip it, and they'll go up on all the social media.
Well, I'm just fortunate I haven't been hit by a bolt of lightning while I'm talking about officials, so I'm good. So,
well, it's something that I and this is for me. This is outside the basketball court. This is just for everything, whether it's a meeting that I'm in or whatever I'm doing a skill, whether it be a basketball skill or I'm teaching something or something I'm doing in the weight room. And you had mentioned it is the why. And I like that the idea of the recipe or the chef, because the chef there's something there to you can just do drills, but if you don't understand why, they're almost useless. And I think this is a super important point, and I just wanted to highlight that because if there's any coaches that are listening right now, young coaches, and you had mentioned that the YouTube generation. It's just because there's all this content out there and you can look at all this stuff. It doesn't mean that you should be doing it. It doesn't mean that it's all useful. If you don't know why it applies, then it's actually not useful.
Exactly.
It's useless. And then so whenever I'm coaching, I do a little bit of coaching still, or I'm teaching someone something, or I'm sitting in a meeting, I always ask why. So, I'll say, hey, why are we doing this? And I'll tell kids if I'm teaching them, like, this is why you're doing this. Not just teaching blindly. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's not like I do this every time, but we get caught doing that sometimes where we're not explaining to the person, hey, this is why you're doing it. Because if someone understands why, they have a reference point to like, okay, this is, and then they can kind of, whether it be imagine, or they can actually be in that position and execute, the thing that they needed to get done. And I think it's just really critical to kind of point that out.
Well, it goes right back to you talking about Bush talking to you about help side defense.
Yes.
No, it really is. I mean, it's kind of
absolutely
why am I doing this? If you came, I mean, I used to recruit kids at Brandon University that came out of 2-3 zones, and the only side of the zone, she only played the right side, and she ran that side of the floor back and forth till the second half. Then she ran the other side of the floor.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting her to the next level where she's going to chase an all Canadian around the floor and defend her person to person. You're going, yeah, there's a lot of teaching, but once again, it's knowing what you have and what level and why they do it. And there's always, as there is in coaching, there's that aha moment, right? And I love watching the young kid that all of a sudden, where we've been doing something for a week and all of a sudden it goes, whoa, I get this. Like, whoa, what it's like, and of course, in my cynical way, I'll make fun of them, but I mean, it's all good because we're learning and laughing together about it. Because I mean, it's an accomplishment, right? More so than than winning a quarter in basketball. That's a greater win than that. So it's important.
Absolutely, the progress and being able to take something and learn it and then apply it. I think like those moments, the moment that you just described there, where a kid gets it, for me, that literally gives me energy. I'm just like, yes, like you did it. Like that's. And that's why whenever I coach, those are the moments I coach for. Like you said, it's not for the wins. Like, hey, winning's great, it's fine, but those are all those small wins that hopefully down the line, if you're so blessed to be in a position that you can actually win it all or win games, that's great. But it comes from all those little wins, and if you're not celebrating those and you're not happy from those, you will not enjoy coaching. Eventually, you're just gonna be like, I can't do this, and I don't want to do it anymore.
And that's my fear with a lot of our young coaches that get into it, right? They forget and they don't see those moments. They're so busy. I got to get the next drill, or I got to win this game, or I got to, just let the kids grow. I mean, it's about the kids, and that's really the biggest push for it, right? So
yes. It's something too that you had mentioned earlier about the free play, and that's something that again, this is speaking more to maybe young coaches, but the idea that getting a drill perfect, right? I think a lot of coaches like, oh no, you're not doing it right. And, obviously at some point you want them to do it right. And that's fine. Yeah. But a lot of coaches get caught up in younger coaches about, they see the drill on YouTube or something, and then they try to, get their kids to do it and they're not able to do it. Or they're not executing it properly. And then they stop and they try to fix it. But it goes back to kind of that free, letting them figure it out themselves sometimes. And kind of letting them mess up a little bit, like giving that space for them to kind of figure it out before you jump in. And I think there's something special about that, because it kind of goes back to what you're saying about the free play, playing different sports and just kind of like figuring out yourself. At the beginning, you're talking about it when you first started playing basketball, we just played I'm just playing. Like there's literally, you might fight over rules between your friends and figure stuff out, but you're just playing, And I think there's a certain level where I think some of the more successful coaches, there's a certain period or certain instances within a drill or whatever it is during practice where they just step back a little bit and they just kind of let things happen. And then they jump in after they've given those players a chance to kind of figure things out themselves a little bit. So I just think those things are super important.
Which I find funny, because anybody listening to this right now knows me, that, I mean, we're as structured as anybody when we play. We're going to execute and we're going to do this properly. But what everybody forgets is that with the kids I have, when they get here in grade 9, and we're a high school of 500 kids, of which maybe there's 25 they're going to play basketball, right? In grade 9 and 10, it's motion. And I go back to, fortunately, my days at BU, where we played Simon Fraser and Allison McNeil, our former national team coach, and Bruce, her husband, kind of gave me the keys to the kingdom on how to teach motion. And that was my aha moment where, oh, okay, so I set it up and here's me teaching. Now we're teaching ball cuts and a give and go. And here's how you create space and just let kids just kind of flow. And then after they understand that, then when I'm going to try to teach something a little structured, because there needs to be structure if you're going to be successful, then they understand why we're doing it this way. Unfortunately, what we do now is, in a lot of cases, we look at on YouTube, oh, there's an offense I want to run. And it's A to B to C to D and E to F. And okay, that's awesome, because I'm going to just cut off that spot, that spot, that spot. Now what are you going to do? Exactly. Whereas if the kids understand motion, there's times in grade 9 and 10, we'll play a rural team out here, and they're playing a 2-3 zone. And our kids are running around for 15 minutes before they even realize what's going on. Well, how come my guy's not chasing me, coach? Well, maybe he just lost you. But it's just, they understand, I got to move the ball, and the ball swings. And how do I get it in to get it out? And those things are so important. But but there's a process that a lot of people don't see, right? But I always laugh, because I mean, when I mentioned free play, there's people around me that just roll their eye when I say, "Oh, the kids I coach get free play." Oh yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
Come on, Don. You free play? Not gonna happen.
No. Yeah, exactly. So it's good.
Well, I kind of wanted to take a shift a little bit in the conversation here now.
Sure.
If anyone who doesn't know Don already, you obviously a super important figure in the Brandon basketball community. Okay, so you were born there, you were raised there, you played college there, you still live in Brandon. You are Brandon through and through, And so there's a big tournament every year. Again, I'm not quite sure how long it's been going on for the BSSI tournament, though. I'm curious
19 years, 20 now.
19 years. Yeah. So if you can tell me the how and the why that tournament got started.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a different one. Well, it started probably early in my teaching career. I was at Harrison Junior High, and us and Earl Oxford Junior High decided to run a basketball tournament. And so it was a co-tournament. So it started off with 8 teams, and that's pretty easy, but we got 2 gyms. It's pretty easy to run 8 teams in 2 gyms. So then the next year we ran it up to like 16. And then by the time we left in my 8th year at Harrison, it was up to like 30 some teams, and all these grade 9 teams are coming in, and we made an event. So when I got into the high school, especially when I got to Neelin, Crocus used to run, was called the Optimus Shootout, and they took it over from BU, and it was always run in December. And Crocus the basketball people didn't want to run it anymore. And so, I'm here at Neelin, I'm coaching boys basketball. And I said, well, let's see if we can get this going again. So we started off, and I think the first year we had a little 8-team tournament, and then the next year it got a little bigger. And then I had a hamburger with Dave Larkins at U of W. And Larks and I sat down, and I kind of gave him, Larks, we got to run a basketball tournament here. And I gave him this idea of this tournament. So I was going to call it the Spartan Hoop Invitational Tournament, the SHIT. But it's a good thing he's a newspaper guy, and he said, no, we better go with something different.
Do it.
So we ended up with BSSI and created that. And the first year we had 24 teams, and he looked at me and I said, you know what, I can get it to 32, and that's pretty well the limit. And there's been a couple of times where he talked me off the ledge, and the Refs Association did too, because I was going to expand it to 40, right? And so, no, it's been awesome. And you know what? I think the greatest thing about BSSI is that people get to come out here in December, and, the teams travel out here 2.5 days. You get 5 games. First year we ran BSSI, I remember I make fun of a good friend of mine, Dwayne White from up at Swan River. He had a really good basketball team, and he played to win that tournament. So he went the first 3 round robin games. He played his 5 or 6 guys, and by Saturday, it was like a walking wounded. The ambulance pulled up, and they lost in the semi and the 3rd place game by 25-30. So it gives coaches a chance to play kids and see what you have and bond and do all that, and just have a great time. So it's worked out really well. Yeah.
Well, and some, I've obviously been to the tournament before, and it is quite the big event, and a lot of people are excited for it because it is a lot of the times the first games that a lot of teams play. Yeah. So it's kind of like that, it's the start of the season, and it is in December. But something that you and I were talking about offline was you have all the coaches, and you bring them together, and I don't know what you call it, like a coaches night. So again, you may not have anything off the top of your head, but I was wondering if anything stands out, a funny story, there's probably a ton of them, but I just found, just for people who don't know, maybe start off by telling them what exactly we're talking about. And then, maybe something comes to mind.
I mean, part of the BSSI is we play 80 varsity boys basketball games in 2.5 days in Brandon. So it is nonstop basketball from about 4:00 on Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then everybody leaves. So there's not a whole lot of time to have coaches games and have a little pep rally, and it's just on to the next game. So the one thing that I always said, I mean, one of the highlights that I always found when I went to some of the, you go back to the WIT, and you go to Saskatchewan, go to the Luther and St. Vital as well. Those tournaments, they really do a job of kind of giving the coaches an opportunity to get together in a non-gymnasium setting. Yes. Because if you're sitting in the gym, you're just going to talk basketball, and you're just going to talk about that game and what just happened in your game. And some coach is going to go on about this player doesn't get it, and I got the worst team ever, and this guy's going on, I got the best team ever. And whereas when we put our coaches night together in December, everybody's going to get together on the first Thursday and only complain about one game that season so far, which is awesome, right? So that conversation is down, and it's literally just catching up to coaches that in that big setting you may not see. Yes. To be perfectly honest, I invite everybody to BSSI, all 32 teams, and I communicate through email. But there's coaches that leave BSSI that I never get to see, and I just that you miss that interaction. So that's why we created this coaches night. We get wings, and we sit around and have a Pepsi or two and visit, and it's just a great opportunity to listen to some of the coaches' stories from the season past or where they think they're going to be. And
yeah. Well, the thing that I liked about it when, I was the young coach coming in, I was coaching with Oak Park with John Lundgren. And I've heard this, from other coaches that have entered is I think there's a certain, like you come in and like you said, there's coaches telling stories about years past, championships past, or players, and you're young, and a lot of the younger coaches just sit there. They don't talk much. They just sit there and listen. And the ones who are really keen are like, oh, this is good stuff. And they're just sitting there and listening. And I think just that connection and building the bridge from like the past to the new coaches, I think that's where that meeting is very special. And that night is very special. Yeah.
And at the same time, at no time did we ever create it to be that, but it is that. And I think that's such a missing link sometimes in our game, right? I mean, we have people that just coach a game and they walk out of the gym. And I mean, the people that I've known through basketball, the coaches I've met and opportunity to work with is just, I could sit here for another hour with you just going on about the stories with them. And so,
absolutely,
that's it. I mean, those are the special times in coaching for sure.
For sure. And I think a lot of the, what I've seen in people that I know, there's actual groups of coaches that are friends now, like actual friends, and they are from completely different generations.
Yeah.
They got 15 years, but they're friends. And and a lot of it started, at the BSSI and at that the coaches gathering. And then from there you get it, you're comfortable. Oh, okay. Now, like you said, you're not all caught up in the game. You are talking about basketball all the times, but it's not necessarily about like, everyone's kind of more free. And so now you're like, hey, I can connect with that person. Then you'd come back the next year. Then maybe you coach against them. And now you're talking because you saw them at the beginning of the year. And so I think that's very, very special. And I appreciated my time at that. And I know I've spoken with other people who I know that just love it. That's like, that is they say, hey, we're going to the BSSI. Can't wait till the coaches. That's like, what's like the highlight, one of the highlights of the whole tournament. So.
Well, in other tournaments, I mean, the WIT used to have a coach's game, right?
Yes.
And Luther had a coach's game. I played back in 2008 in a coach's game, and a coach from Alberta blew out his knee in a game. And I'm kind of going, oh my God, I don't need to do this. Like,
exactly.
Because of course, all coaches think that they should be still playing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
At least I realized a long time ago, probably in my 5th year, I shouldn't be playing anymore.
You're like, I'm good. I'm going to know my role, I guess.
Exactly. Stay in your lane.
Exactly. So, okay. So I just want to get a few stories out of you here. So, okay. So you've been telling some great ones, but maybe if you can take a moment, reflect, and if you can tell us maybe your most memorable basketball story.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. That goes for a while, to be honest. I mean, it isn't that far ago. I mean, back in 2012, 2013, we coached provincial team together. Colleen Dufresne, Randy Cassano, and Michelle Sung, now Michelle Hines at the time. And those 2 years were wild.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that was your coaching staff, the 4 of you?
The 4 of us, yeah.
That's a dream team coaching staff right there. That's big time.
With Cassano and Colleen and I, we're the Geritol group. But yeah, but at the same time, so we're going to coach the Canada Games team in 2013. And so it all really started back years ago when Colleen and I were in Thunder Bay in a university tournament there. And we're both finished our games one night. Hey, let's get together. We sat around the room and just chatting back and forth over a pizza and a couple of Diet Pepsis. And she goes, man, I would really love to coach with you. That'd be a lot of fun. And I said, you know what, Colleen, I would love it. Right. So never really thought much of it. We kind of went our different paths. Same with Randy. I mean, Randy and I go a little further back to the days when Oak Park was orange and black and white. And I was a high school kid, and we were playing Oak Park in the Neelin High School Tournament final year in the Neelin gym. And Randy had a tough kid, about 6'4", tatted up. He had a big ponytail, and this kid was tough. And this kid turned around and he clocked one of our guys, right? So I decided to be our leader in grade 12. I'm going to go give this guy a go. I gave him a shove, and I actually had Randy grab me behind, and he just goes, hey, Don, you don't want to do that. And he just kind of steered me away the other direction, right? And so from that and coaching at Crocus, Randy and I, we became tight. My brother went to U of M, and Randy had the opportunity to coach Garth there. And so it was a no-brainer that, you know what, once Colleen said yes, Randy's got to be my next guy. And Randy accepted it. We had a great time. I mean, it was just one story to the next amongst us, just having good times with the kids. And then kind of our run into the semifinal was, you know, I mean, we finished second in our pool in 2013 at the Canada Games, and kind of think we're kind of down and out. Looks like we got to play a Quebec team in the quarterfinal in Quebec and Sherbrooke, and you know, we're kind of holding her this. And then we started doing the scout on them, and I started looking. Well, they had 3 junior national team kids on their team, of which one blew an ankle, one broke her wrist, and the other one wasn't feeling well. So you know what? Sometimes as coach, you just got to be lucky, right? And so we beat Quebec in Quebec, and then we turned around, played Ontario in the semifinal. And, you know, we're kind of prepping, but at the same time, Ontario selected from 1,200 girls that year. I mean, I thought we had a big tryout with 80, right? So they've got a team of just next level kids. So we're in the game, and our end goal all along was we're in the medal round. Let's stay healthy. Let's stay in the moment. So we get at the end of the first quarter, and the score is 16-14 Ontario. We're in the game. And so Randy comes up to me, goes, hey, I think we got a chance. I looked at him and go, Randy, I mean, they haven't played their bench yet, and we're done. We ended up losing by 30 and ended up coming back and beat Alberta to get bronze. So, you know, it was it's an exciting time. And I mean, it was even more special. My daughter played with us then, and watching her development and earn her ability to, I mean, she earned her spot on the team too. And I know a lot of people always fear that a parent's coaching and that's why they made the team. But in Paige's case, her work ethic kind of earned her spot on the team. And she played a pretty important defensive role for us as opposed to trying to put the ball in the hoop. So it worked out well. But yeah, so those are the big ones. You know, I mean, coaching wise, you know, I can think of playing the University of Calgary with the Brandon University women. Calgary was ranked like 5 in the country. And we were down big in the first quarter, turn around, and the fouls ended up mounting up because I get along so well with officials. We've gone on record with that, right? And so they end up picking up. We get our 9th foul of the half, and they've got 1. So I had to make sure that a referee understood that, and I ended up. It didn't go so well, and the ref asked me to leave. And so as I got tossed out of the game, and I'm walking across, I end up getting to the exit sign, and I run into Mark Hogan, who is a former Crocus Plains guy who came to watch us and coaches a ton. And he just goes, it's halftime. You can't talk to your kids. You want to come for a beer? So I went and had a drink, came back, and everything was calm, and kind of went from there. But yeah, no, it's there's lots of just crazy things that you do, right? And I mean, yeah. Now I'm going to just talk about the stories where I got kicked out of games. Like,
well, it's funny because my next question was going to be tell us your funniest basketball story. So a funny one, but that one might be up there. I don't know if there's anything that you got that's better than that.
My funniest playing one actually was in my 4th year university, and Jerry used to take us down. Part of the preparation for us to get ready for a season, we went down and played Division I schools. So they would offer us money to go down and set up a contract, pay hotels and all that. And most people would fly in. Well, not us. I mean, we'd load up in 2 15-passenger vans and go on tours. So we played in my 4th year. We played Morningside College in I can't even remember. I want to think it's in close to Aberdeen, South Dakota, but ended up playing Kansas State, played Nebraska, played Iowa State. So we're playing Iowa State at Iowa State. And literally, coach comes up with an idea the day before that they've got a pretty good lineup. They have this all Canadian or all American. And then they have this really good guard. The guard just happened to be Jeff Hornacek. Hornacek played, a few years in the NBA, played with Utah, with Stockton Malone.
Oh, yeah.
So coach has a great idea. He goes, we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to play a 3-2 zone. And we're going to put Donnie on one wing. We're going to put somebody else on the wing and somebody at the point. And Carson and Jevison are 2 all Canadians. They're going to just sit in the post and guard. And we're going to chase everybody from point to wing. Right. So, but he's not going to show it the first time. So Jerry turns around. He goes, first play, man, right off the jump, we're going to show him man to man. Then we're going to go into the 3-2. All right. So here we go. Jump ball goes up. There's 15,000 people at Iowa State. I'm starting a Div 1 basketball game, right? Which is a really stretch. Trust me, in my playing career. I turn around and I slap the floor like I'm going to play this guy. Yeah. I got Jeff Hornacek locked up, right? Half court. He tosses it from half court on a backdoor lob play, hits nothing but net from half court. The place erupts, and he turns around and slaps me in the butt and goes, hey, good D, 14.
But hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Was he trying to throw a lob that just went in? Is that kind of what happened?
He threw a lob that went in from half. Yeah. So, hey, good D. Just kind of went,
Hornacek.
It's tremendous.
Well, yeah, for those who don't know, to look up Jeff Hornacek. He played a long time. You'll see a lot of highlights of him in 98 season guarding 97 season and 98 season guarding the great Michael Jordan. So,
yeah, pretty poorly, I might add, but at the same time,
it wasn't a great matchup for. Jordan was doing that to him. He's like,
yeah, exactly. So no, and lots of opportunities there. Like we played against Benoit Benjamin. Big Ben was drafted by the Vancouver Grizzlies, number 1 overall. We played him down in at Creighton University, in a preseason game, and he got in a scuffle with a couple of guys. So once again, I'm a tough guy. I'm going to go bounce him. And as I give him a push, I'm looking at double zeros right in that's his uniform numbers, right in my eyes. I got to go, okay, I'm out of my league now. Just don't do that again. So yeah, no, those are good ones. I mean, it just, there's so many great just moments with kids, I mean, I think of the old 2005, we went 4A here at Neelin and took just a bunch of kids that loved the game. They're passionate about the game. And we ended up nobody thought we would ever win. Right. And we ended up beating a real Ogo. We beat Ogo in the with Fort Richmond in the quarterfinals. And just on a couple of plays, it just happened to go our way and beat them in overtime, and then beat Oak Park in a semi and ended up lost to Sauvé by 7 in the provincial final. And watching that group of kids that were a better team than they were skilled, but they just bought in and they just loved to play. Right. And so those things are great. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you have, again, if I just let you go, it'd probably just be, story after story. Cause you can, I mean, when you've been doing it for that long, I mean, there's lost stories in there that I'm sure if someone says the right word, it would cue this, and then you could just keep going with things. But
I mean, nowadays it's just the high school stories, right? And just the silly things that happen in a high school game. Like, I mean, it's just things you would never consider happening. I mean, we're playing up in Swan River, and all of a sudden in the middle of a game, the lights go out, right? And the best thing I can do is the kids are panicking. I turn around and yell at our best kid and go, you might as well shoot it now. You shoot it way better in the dark than you can with the lights on. Right? So
always throwing shots.
Well, it's just part of the game, right? It's just part of having fun with the kids, and you got to be willing to accept them too. Kids will poke fun with me, and that's okay. I don't mind that. That's part of all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
But before we go, because I think we're pushing an hour now. So I mean, if the people have not been entertained by now, they are definitely bored. So if they've made it this far, they're either entertained or does either way.
Yeah.
But I like to end the interview, asking somewhat of a hypothetical question, but obviously hoping that the information you provide is valuable to someone. So, been coaching forever. You have tons of information in your head. You have tons of experience. If you could kind of implant, a piece of advice, like say to all the young coaches out here in Manitoba, you can just put it in their head right now. What would that advice be? And again, it can be three things. It can be one thing, but something that, if you're young and you're new to the game of basketball and you're coaching, that you think it's very important that they understand, or it's whether it be a philosophy, just a message that you were given and you want to pass that on.
I think, one of the greatest things that I ever picked up from all my coaches. And now if you listen to the Steam Room with Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley, right? Great podcast. You're probably number 2 to them right now. I'm pretty sure you're going to be up there. But, Ernie comes up with all the time, be a better human being. Right. And I've always learned from the coaches I had to that no matter what I do with those kids, if they can be better citizens when they leave with what we're doing than when we started, then really that's a big thing. And I think that's so important. That gets overlooked nowadays, 100%. And that's this old guy looking back and going, yeah, when I was a young coach, I probably didn't spend enough time doing that. Mm-hmm. But now that you get former players coming back and they contact me, I'm not a social media icon. They might drop me a fax or something, right? And so they'll turn around. Adam Philpott, Philly.
Yeah.
Adam will touch base and go, hey, how's it going? And this summer, talking to Chad Jacobson, who played with you back in 2001, and just going back, we literally are reliving the stories of when we practiced with you at Mennonite Brethren those nights. We'd go 7 to 9 or 6 to 8. We had to get in the van right away because we're going home. But what everybody knew, practice would never go past 8 o'clock because our van had to hit the Coe's ice cream shop in Headingley before it closed at 8:40. And so we'd go in and just barrel down a big cone, right? And so those things, it's got to be fun. We get so many coaches who get so caught up in the intensity and they think that's passion about winning and losing. It's you really have to enjoy what you're doing. And once again, go back to Ernie Johnson. If you've caught his latest bit, he talked about to the Alabama football team about his job with Turner. He goes, some people got to go to work. He goes, I get to go to work. I got a get to job. I get to do this. And that's, to be honest, that's really it. I can honestly say that I get up every day and I come to teach here and I love what I'm doing. And, could have retired 4 or 5 years ago and still, I'm still not at that point where I can find something else to do that is as entertaining as what I'm doing now, and so that's really it. So I think just making sure that you're making those kids better people, and don't lose sight of that. And there's one thing I know Dwight Kearns used to always talk to us. He goes, the person taking the jump shot is way more important than how the jump shot looks. And that, it's such a kind of, yeah, you're right. And to know that, Timmy that day went 3 for 12, but how's he really doing?
Yeah.
Really, the ball going in the hoop, that's kind of what we all look at. But at the end of the day, there could be a lot of things going on that he just needs somebody to turn around and talk to that day. Yeah. I think those are the things that just make us want to keep doing what we're doing. Like you said, the aha moment with kids. And so that and have fun with what you're doing. Man, I'm in it for 38 years and I have as much fun now as what I had in year one. So, I always said the day a day isn't fun anymore. I shouldn't be doing it. So, I'm in trouble there.
Those are wise words. Those are wise words. You said 38 years and I said, I'm 38 years old. So I said, you've been coaching as long as I've been alive. So Don, I appreciate this conversation so much. I think the thing that I got out of this conversation is, and you've said it in so many words, is it is literally more than just the game. You know what I mean? And so
it's
just more than the game. So I appreciate you. I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap it up here, unless there's something else you want to say that you haven't said already.
Once again, I just want to reach out to you and Adam, Dan, and everybody at Basketball Manitoba. I mean, we're very fortunate as a province. I kid Adam all the time that, nothing gets outside the perimeter, and I only got a day pass to get into Winnipeg, come out twice a year, and Adam's usually checking on me, right? But at the same time, what people like yourself and Adam, Dan, and Randy now involved there have done for the game and our sport is second to none. And it's going to take other people to eventually carry on that passion and those things that they have. And hey, anytime somebody needs help, just reach out. It's there. I mean, that's the best part about the game of basketball.
Absolutely. And I echo that. And I hope and I believe that this podcast will be just an addition to all those things and some of the stories, things that we've talked about today and some of the future guests. I think it's just about continuing the legacy. We want these younger coaches, kind of like the BSSI coaches night. We want these podcasts to be a continuation of that and kind of making sure that the legacies are connected and the younger coaches can hear these stories, because I think it's very important. So to hear you say that, it means a lot.
Well, and those young coaches, don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, don't wait for somebody to come to you. Reach out, because you'll find. I mean, I still do probably 2, 3, 4 clinics in this area around in different high schools, helping people out. It's what you do. And if that helps, then so be it. Let it happen.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, Don. I guess we'll say goodbye now.
Awesome, Darcy. Great seeing you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. You take care.
Like I said, I meant to play you more in 01. That was all. It was all Bush's fault, not mine.
Yeah, I'll make sure if I see him, I'll let him know you said that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, okay, take care.
Okay, take care, Darcy.
Right,
thanks.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share this series, and reach out to us with your comments on the show. Thanks again for joining us.